Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Monday, October 26, 2020. Today I'm going to recap the World Series games 3, 4, and 5 from the weekend, NFL from yesterday, which was Week 7, College Football Week 8, NASCAR from the weekend, the plan for the 2020-21 NBA season, and my best bet of the day. We'll start with baseball. A really fun and entertaining weekend of games between the Rays and the Dodgers. We will start with Friday night, game number 3, Dodgers over the Rays 6-2 to take a 2-1 series lead. Walker Buehler to win, Charlie Morton the loss. Top of the first, home run Justin Turner, 1-0 Dodgers. Top of the third, 2-run single Max Muncy, 3-0 Dodgers. Top of the fourth, sacrifice Matt Barnes. Jock Peterson, the second. Bellinger scores. 4-0 Dodgers. RBI single Mookie Betts. 5-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the fifth, RBI double Willy Adames. 5-1. Top of the sixth, home run Austin Barnes. 6-1. Bottom of the ninth, home run Randy Arozarena. 6-2. Your final. Walker Buehler, 6 innings, 3 hits, and a run, a walk, 10 strikeouts. Blake Trinan went 1 strikeout, 2. Bruce Graterol went 1, and Kenley Jansen went 1, gave up the homer, struck out 1. On the other side, Charlie Morton, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 5 runs, a walk, 6 strikeouts. John Curtis, an inning and 2/3, 2 hits and a run, a walk, 2 strikeouts. Then came in Ryan Sheriff for 1, struck out 1, and gave up a walk. Ryan Thompson went 1, struck out 1. And Shane McClanahan went for an inning and gave up a hit. Saturday, and what has been the best game of the postseason so far, Rays over the Dodgers 8-7 to tie up the World Series at 2 apiece. John Curtis to win, Kenley Jansen the loss. Top of the first, home run Justin Turner, 1-0 Dodgers. Top of the third, home run Corey Seager, 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the fourth, home run Randy Arozarena, 2-1 Dodgers. Top of the fifth, RBI single Max Muncy, 3-1 Dodgers. Bottom of the fifth, home run Hunter Renfroe, 3-2 Dodgers. Top of the sixth, RBI double Kike Hernandez, 4-2 Dodgers. Bottom of the sixth, 3-run home run Brandon Lau, 5-4 Rays. Top of the seventh, 2-run single Jock Peterson. Cody Bellinger thrown out at third as Corey Seager and Justin Turner scored, so he did that with the bases loaded. 6-5 Dodgers. Bottom of the seventh, home run Kevin Kiermaier, 6-6. Top of the eighth, RBI single Corey Seager, 7-6. Bottom of the ninth, here we go. RBI single Brett Phillips. Arozarena scores on the error by Will Smith. And Kevin Kiermaier scores on the error prior to Arozarena. And Brett Phillips was safe at second on a fielding error by Chris Taylor. And the funny thing is, so Arozarena is in the rundown, and then Will Smith fails to catch the ball. And the irony is that Arozarena falls. And, of course, social media is mocking him, saying he's Daniel Jones because he fell. And that's obviously 2 days after Daniel Jones had the infamous fall after going 22 miles an hour against the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. So, Arozarena falls. Will Smith doesn't catch the ball, and that's where that error occurs. And then Arozarena scores, turns around and reaches for home plate and gets it. And the Rays even up the series at 1 apiece. That was just an awesome, awesome baseball game. Ryan Yarbrough, 3 1/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and a strikeout, ERA 4.5. Ryan Thompson went 2/3, struck out 1. Peter Fairbanks went 1, gave up an earned run, 2 hits, and struck out 1. Diego Castillo, 1 inning, a hit, and a run, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Aaron Loop, a third of an inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, and a strikeout, no walks. Nick Anderson, who's had a dismal playoffs for him. An inning in the third, 3 hits, an earned run, a walk, and a strikeout. And then John Curtis, an inning in the third and 2 hits. On the other side, Julio Urias, 4 and 2/3, 4 2 runs, a walk, 9 strikeouts. He was very good. Blake Treinen, 2/3, a hit, 2 runs, a walk, a strikeout. Pedro Baez, an inning and 2/3, 2 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 2 strikeouts. Adam Kolarek, 2/3, a walk, and a strikeout. Brusdar Graterol only saw 2 batters, recorded an out, and gave up a hit. And then Kenley Jansen, 2/3, 2 hits, an earned run, a walk, and a strikeout. And then last night, the Dodgers rebound and beat the Rays 4-2 to take a 3-2 series lead. Clayton Kershaw the win. Tyler Glasnow the loss. Blake Treinen the save. Top of the first, RBI single, Corey Seager, 1-0 Dodgers. Infield single, Cody Bellinger, 2-0 Dodgers. Top of the second, home run, Jock Peterson, 3-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the third, RBI triple, Adlemis Diaz, 3-1. RBI single, Randy Arozarena makes it 3-2. And top of the fifth, home run, Max Muncy makes it 4-2. That was your final. Clayton Kershaw, 5 and 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Dustin May went an inning and 2/3, a hit, struck out 2, so he looked better than he had the previous 2 appearances. Vince Gonzalez, 2/3, gave up a walk. And Blake Treinen closed it out, an inning, a hit, and 2 strikeouts. Other side with the Rays. Tyler Glasnow, 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Aaron Loup, 2/3, gave up a walk. Diego Castillo, an inning and a third, clean. Ryan Sheriff, a clean inning. And then Ryan Thompson went an inning with a walk and a strikeout. And now we wait for Tuesday, which is tomorrow, for game number 6. Now we'll move on to the NFL from week number 7, and then we will pick and preview tonight's game between the Bears and the Rams. All right, Lions over the Falcons 23-22 on a touchdown as time expired by T.J. Hockenson from Matt Stafford. Matt Prater makes the extra point kick to win the game for for Detroit to go to 3-3. Atlanta's 1-6. Matt Stafford was very good, 25 of 36, 340 yards and a touchdown. Matt Ryan, 31 of 42, 338 yards and a touchdown. And Todd Gurley, probably the worst touchdown score you'll ever see, scores to give the Falcons a lead with 1:04 to go. 10-yard run, which he should have just had a Lions tackle him. And then Matt Ryan to Calvin Ridley for the 2-point conversion. Put him up 16-22. And then the Lions marched down the field and scored that game-winning touchdown. That was a very Falcons way to lose a game. That just sums up their season. I'm sorry. Dan Quinn or not, that's just the Falcons for you. Browns over the Bengals 37-34. Browns 5-2. Bengals 5-1. Baker Mayfield 22 of 28, 297 yards, 5 touchdowns and a pick. That was his best game of the season. Joe Burrow 35 of 47, 406 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Odell Beckham gets hurt. This was a shootout the whole way. Credit to the Bengals for hanging with the Browns. And then with 11 seconds left, 24 yards from Baker Mayfield to Donovan Peoples-Jones of all people. Scores the go-ahead touchdown. They go up 37-34. Cody Parkey misses the extra point as the Bengals wind up covering the point spread. So that was another fun game in the AFC North. Steelers over the Titans 27-24 in what was probably the game of the day. Pittsburgh 6-0, Tennessee 5-1. This was the game of the 1 o'clock window. We'll get to the game of the day in my mind. Ben Roethlisberger 32 of 49, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Ryan Tannehill 18 of 30, 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. Roethlisberger looked awesome in the first half, and then he looked bad in the second half, which had Tennessee still in that game. But they're lucky that Steven Gostkowski missed a field goal with 13 seconds left to hang on to win and remain undefeated. And credit to the Titans who came back to make that a game after a bad first half. But the Titans are still a good team. It's just that they couldn't capitalize there at the end, and Gostkowski's to blame for this loss, or at least for this game not going to overtime if you're Tennessee. Saints over the Panthers 27-24. This was another fun game. Saints 4-2, Carolina 3-4. Drew Brees 29-36, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Teddy Bridgewater 23 of 28, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. Joey Sly misses a 65-yard kick, which would have tied the game. And then that's pretty much how it ended. And, Carolina's better than we thought, even though they're a sub-500 football team. Bills over the Jets 18-10. Jets covered for the first time all year, although they dropped 0-7 on the year. Buffalo's 5-2. Josh Allen 30 of 43, 307 yards. Sam Darnold 12 of 23, 120 yards and 2 picks in his first game back from injury. Washington over the Cowboys 25-3. Washington 2-5, Dallas 2-5. This was just a dismal performance by by Dallas. Kyle Allen 15-25, 194 yards and 2 touchdowns. Andy Dalton 9 of 19, 75 yards. An interception in the red zone right before halftime. And then Ben DiNucci came in because Andy Dalton looked like he had a concussion. So he pulled Dalton. DiNucci comes in 2 of 3, 39 yards. And looked better than Andy Dalton. Granted, he was sacked a couple times. The Cowboys just have a ton of problems. We'll talk about them when we do the power rankings on tomorrow's show. Packers over the the Texans, 35-20. Packers 5-1. Watson and the Texans dropped to 1-6. Aaron Rodgers 23 of 34, 283 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Deshaun Watson 29 of 39, 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. Buccaneers over the Raiders, 45-20 now in the 4 o'clock window. The Bucs are 5-2. Vegas is 3-3. Tom Brady, 33 of 45, 369 yards and 4 touchdowns. Derek Carr, 24 of 36, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And speaking of Tom Brady, his former team was dismal, losing 33-6 against the 49ers. San Fran 4-3. New England 2-4. Jimmy Garoppolo 20 of 25, 277 yards and 2 picks. Won the game without throwing a touchdown pass. Cam Newton was terrible. 9 of 15, 98 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Jarrett Stidham came in 6 of 10, 64 yards and 3 threw a pick as well. So everybody in the media is going to be mocking the Cowboys and the Patriots all day today and tomorrow. Just beware of that. And that's very sad because that just takes the light off the teams who had good weekends, like the Bucs and the Browns and a bunch of other teams, the Steelers. Chargers over the Jaguars, 39-29. Justin Herbert gets his first win. The Chargers improved to 2-4. Jacksonville's 1-6. Justin Herbert, 27 of 43, 347 yards and 3 touchdowns. Gardner Minshew, 14 of 27, 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sunday Night Football, and this was the game of the day. Cardinals over the Seahawks, 37-34 in overtime. Arizona with a big-time prove-it win. They're 5-2. Seattle's handed their first loss. They're 5-1. Kyler Murray, 34 of 48, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Russell Wilson, 33 of 50, 388 yards, 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. No one's going to talk about Russell Wilson's 3-interception game. And it looked like that Seattle had won the game on a touchdown from Wilson to Tyler Lockett, but it was taken away due to a penalty. And in the following play, Wilson throws the pick. That sets it up for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals as Zach Gonzalez kicks the game-winning field goal. It's 15 seconds left in overtime after it looked like at points that we were going to get a tie for the second time in a 4-year span or 5-year span between these two same ball clubs, although this time would be in a much better game. Now looking ahead to tonight's game between the Bears and the Rams. The Rams are favored by 6, over under 48.5. I would make this game Bears by 1, total 42.5. I love the Bears. Love them. I think the Rams are a fraudulent football team. The 4 teams they've beaten are all teams in the worst division we've seen in a long time in the NFC East. They were lucky to beat Dallas in week 1, by the way, because of the BS offensive pass interference call. They trailed the Bills 28-3. Granted, they should have won that game. They came from behind, but then came a defensive pass interference flag that shouldn't have happened. And that, I guess, makes up for week 1's bad call. So I guess that's a fair game. But they still trailed 28-3 against the Bills. And the Bears are a good team led by Nick Foles. And I really think they're going to come out and win this game and show everybody that they're a contender right now. And they're a contender because of their defense, not necessarily because of Nick Foles. Nick Foles is just a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. So, give me the Bears plus the 6, plus 215 on the money line. So, my money line pick of the week. This is the last of the Fab 5 picks for the NFL this week. That whenever I have a Fab 5 pick on a Monday night, then I'll give it out. And same for Thursday Night Football, which hasn't happened yet this year, where I have a Fab 5 pick on Thursday Night Football, then I give it out Thursday. But in this case, I believe this is the second time this season where I have a Fab 5 pick on Monday Night Football. The other one came week 1 when I took the Steelers against the Giants. And then, so the Bears, I'm taking plus the 6. The juice is minus 115. Taking the money line too, just over 2-1 and plus 215 in what should be a really entertaining game. So worst case scenario, the Rams win by less than 6 and I just win against the spread and end up with a mediocre 2-3 week in terms of Fab 5 NFL picking. Now we'll move on to college football. Week number 8 results. Meanwhile, Fab 5, I went a disastrous 1-4. So, without further ado, here we go. We're going to start with Friday night. Jacksonville State upsets Florida International 19-10. Jacksonville State 3-1. Florida International 0-1. Or 0-3, my bad. Tulsa over USF 42-13. Tulsa's 2-1. USF's 1-5. Number 14, Wisconsin dominates Illinois 45-7. Wisconsin 1-0, Illinois 0-1. The quarterback for Wisconsin, Graham Mertz, tested positive for COVID-19. So let's see if Wisconsin's game against Nebraska is still on for Saturday. If it is, then you'll probably be seeing a different starting quarterback in the whole world betting on Nebraska on Saturday. Louisiana over UAB 24-20. Louisiana's 4-1, UAB 4-2. On the Saturday, number 1 Clemson over Syracuse 47-21. So Syracuse covers the big number easily. Clemson 6-0, Syracuse 1-5. Number 5 Ohio State over Nebraska 52-17. Ohio State scores a garbage time touchdown for the total go over. Ohio State 1-0, Nebraska 0-1. Number 14, North Carolina over number 23, NC State, 48-21. Little did I know that NC State's quarterback was going to be injured. UNC's 4-1, NC State's 4-2. Number 20, Kansas State over Kansas, 55-14. Kansas State 4-1, Kansas 0-5. Number 25, Coastal Carolina over Georgia Southern, 28-14. Coastal 5-0, Georgia Southern 3-2. Army over Mercer, 49-3. Army 6-1, Mercer 0-2. Auburn over Ole Miss, 35-28. Auburn 3-2, Ole Miss 1-4. Oklahoma over TCU, 33-14. Oklahoma 3-2, TCU 1-3. Memphis over Temple 41-29. Memphis 3-1. Temple 1-2. Charlotte over UTEP 38-28. Charlotte 2-2. UTEP 3-3. Louisville over Florida State 48-16. This is the best I've seen Louisville all year. They're 2-4. So is Florida State. And classic letdown for Florida State after the big win over UNC. Rutgers upsets Michigan State 38-27. Welcome back, Greg Schiano. You're 1-0. And the new coach for Michigan State starts 0-1. And Michigan State's just probably the most overrated program in college football other than Florida State right now. And Texas. Throw them in there too, although they won on Saturday. Liberty over Southern Miss 56-35. Liberty 6-0. USM 1-4. UCF over Tulane 51-34. UCF 3-2. Tulane 2-4. Number 22 Marshall over FAU 20-9. Marshall 5-0. FAU 1-1. Number 2 Alabama over Tennessee 48-17. Alabama 5-0. Tennessee 2-3. Number 6 Oklahoma State over number 17 Iowa State 24-21. Oklahoma State 4-0. Iowa State 3-2. Indiana over number 8 Penn State 36-35 in overtime. Indiana 1-0. Penn State 0-1. And by the way, Penn State, the Falcons, they had something in common. Devin Ford scores with a minute 42 to go. Extra point good, 28-20. Indiana marches down the field, scores with 22 seconds left. Michael Penix scores a touchdown run, and then Penix gets the 2-point conversion run too that ties the game. And then that's how, and then it goes to overtime, and that's where that touchdown came back to haunt Penn State. They should have just ran the clock, Penn State. So, yeah, that's what Penn State and the Falcons had in common from the weekend. And that game was lucky to go over the total. Wake Forest over Virginia Tech 23-16. Wake Forest has been a lot better than expected. They're 3-2, so is Virginia Tech. Middle Tennessee over Rice 40-34 in double overtime. Middle Tennessee's 2-5. Rice is 0-1. Houston over Navy 37-21, so moneyline pick of the week does not come through. Houston's 2-1, Navy's 3-3. Texas over Baylor 27-16. Texas 3-2, Baylor 1-2. Purdue over Iowa 24-20. Purdue 1-0, Iowa 0-1. Number 3 Notre Dame over Pitt 45-3. Notre Dame went over the total of this game by themselves. They're 5-0. Pitt's 3-4. This is the best I've seen Notre Dame in a couple weeks. Georgia State over Troy 36-34. Georgia State 2-2. Troy 3-2. Boston College over Georgia Tech 48-27. Boston College 4-2. Georgia Tech 2-4. Western Kentucky over Chattanooga 13-10. Western Kentucky 2-4. Chattanooga 0-1. Missouri over Kentucky 20-10. Missouri 2-2. Kentucky 2-3. Texas Tech over West Virginia 34-27. Texas Tech 2-3. West Virginia 3-2. LSU over South Carolina 52-24. LSU pretty much went over the total by themselves too. They're 2-2. South Carolina's 2-3. This was my one win in college football betting this weekend, or for the Fab 5 at least. South Alabama over UL Monroe 38-14. South Alabama 3-2. ULM 0-6. Boise State over Utah State 42-13. Boise State 1-0. Utah State 0-1. Nevada over Wyoming 37-34 in overtime. Nevada 1-0. Wyoming 0-1. Number 18 Michigan dominates number 21 Minnesota 49-24. Michigan 1-0. Minnesota 0-1. This is a big win for Michigan, by the way. On the road against a good Minnesota team. Hawaii over Fresno State 34-19. Hawaii 1-0. Fresno 0-1. Northwestern over Maryland 43-3. Northwestern 1-0. Maryland 0-1. and the coach of Northwestern, Fitzgerald, gets his 100th victory. So good for him. Coach Fitz getting victory number 100. Number 11, Miami over Virginia 19-14. Miami 5-1, Virginia 1-4. UTSA over La Tech 27-26. UTSA 4-3. La Tech 3-3. Number 9, Cincinnati over number 16, SMU 42-13. Dominant win for Cincinnati. They're 4-0. SMU 5-1. Number 12, BYU over Texas State 52-14. BYU 6-0. Texas State 1-6. San Diego State over UNLV 34-6. San Diego State 1-0. UNLV 0-1. And San Jose State over Air Force 17-6. San Jose State 1-0. Air Force 1-1. Now we'll go over NASCAR from the weekend. 2 races were complete and one still has to finish due to weather. We will start with the Xfinity race, which was Saturday. And your winner wound up being none other than Harrison Burton, who won in overtime. It was a good win for him. Second, Noah Gragson. Third, Anthony Alfredo. Good finish for him. Fourth, Austin Cindric. Fifth, Brandon Brown. Sixth, Michael Annett. Seventh, Justin Haley. Eighth, Ryan Vargas. Ninth, Josh Williams. 10th, Tommy Joe Martins. Rest of the results: Alex Labb, Bailey Curry, Matt Mills, Brett Moffitt, Jesse Little, Ross Chasen, BJ McClellan, Jeffrey Earnhardt, Kyle Weatherman, CJ McLaughlin, Cody Vanderwell, Joe Graff Jr., Jesse Awuji, Chase Briscoe, Brandon Jones, Justin Allgaier, Jeremy Clemens, Colby Howard, Matt Snyder, Jeb Burton, Ryan Sieg, Riley Herbst, Austin Hill, Chad Fincham, David Starr, Timmy Hill. And now the truck race results from Sunday. And luckily they got that race in. And your winner was Sheldon Creed. And then Austin Hill, Zane Smith, Raphael Lesser, Brett Moffitt round out the top 5. Matt Crane, Austin Wayne Self, Dylan Lupton, Derek Krause, Tanner Gray round out the top 10. Tyler Hill, Chase Purdy, Jordan Anderson, Spencer Boyd, James Boucher, Tyler Ankrum, Danny Bone, Dawson Cram, Josh Belicki, Ben Rhodes, Chandler Smith, Ray Cicerelli, Johnny Sauter, Jennifer Joe Cobb, Christian X, Norm Benning, Josh Rume, Stuart Friesen, Trevor Bain, Natalie Decker, Todd Gilliland, Grant Effinger, Tate Fogelman, Ryan Truex, Clay Greenfield, Trey Hutchins the third, and Tim Vaines. And then the Cup race still needs to finish out. They're finishing today at some point. And in the running order, I just want to go over really quickly. Clint Boyer, Jimmy Johnson, Eric Jones, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Matt DiBenedetto, Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, Chris Bell, Alex Bowman, John Hunter Nemechek, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell, Ryan Newman, Cole Custer, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, Eric Almirola, Ty Dillon, Joey Gase, Garrett Smithley, Timmy Hill, Daniel Suarez, Chad Fincham, Brennan Poole, Reed Sorensen, Kevin Harvick, Josh Belicki, Chris Boucher, Quinn Half, and J.J. Yeley. So Kevin Harvick, a disappointing 36th in a NASCAR postseason race. So the race will resume at 10 a.m. Eastern today. So literally in less than a half an hour until the race resumes. Now I want to talk about the NBA's plan for the 2020-2021 season. Adrian Wojnarowski broke news over the weekend that the NBA is planning a 72-game season, which will start around Christmas time. So 72 games pre-Christmas start. 72 games with fans in the stands. But my thing is that I think they're going to start the year without fans and then leave it up to they're going to do it NFL style and leave it up to the state's governors for when fans can be allowed in the stands. So I'm sure the Lakers and the Knicks will be among teams that won't have fans, and as well as the Clippers and the Nets, but you never know. And maybe they're going to be the last teams to have fans. The Suns, I can see a world where they have fans, although the Cardinals don't have fans right now. I don't think the Celtics will start with fans. I can see a world where the Hawks have some fans. The Hornets have some fans. The Heat will have fans, I think. The Magic will have fans. I don't think the Bulls will have fans early on. So I think some teams will have fans to start the year and other teams won't. Maybe the league as a whole goes no fans for a little bit and then leave it up to the governors in 2021. I'm just thinking out loud of who would have fans and who wouldn't. I think the Cavaliers may have fans. I think the 76ers will have fans. And I'm judging this based on the state's NFL teams having fans or not. New Jersey doesn't have a team. And then the rest of the information from Woj. Amid the coronavirus pandemic, the NBA is proposing several changes to the next season that includes the 72 games, a play-in tournament, and the likelihood of no All-Star game or All-Star weekend in Indianapolis. I like the tournament plan instead because that was a lot of fun, like in terms of the Blazers and the Grizzlies' big game that determined the 8th seed. And Ja Morant really single-handedly kept Memphis in that game and gave them a chance to win, too. And then the league's considering a 2-week break at the midway point instead of an All-Star weekend. And then they shared the plans with the Board of Governors on Friday afternoon. And the league plans to move quickly to complete the negotiations with the Players Association. And then this reduction in regular season games allows the NBA to finish the season before the Summer Olympics in Japan, because they want to participate in that. And then a pre-Christmas start allows the NBA's TV partners to further realize the value of broadcast partnerships. And then Friday, October 30th, is setting up to be a key date, which the NBA and the Players Association agreed that would be the deadline to complete the ongoing discussions on modifications to the collective bargaining agreement for the new season, and a deadline date that requires the league or union to provide 45 days notice if either decides to terminate the CBA, a scenario that sources continue to believe is a remote possibility. And it would also mark roughly 8 weeks until the Christmas week. And then Commissioner Silver has told the union that there would be at least 8 weeks between an agreement and the formal start of next season. And then the loss of fan revenue on game nights, which Silver says is 40% of the league's revenue, is causing the two sides to make significant financial allowances and salary caps and player escrows. And then there's a lot of other stuff too. And then the draft's November 18th. And then free agency is expected to start after. Teams are anxious for the league to reach an agreement with the union and deliver them more certainty on the cap and tax bills. And then, as well as Wojo, Zach Lowe, and Tim McMahon that also contributed to this report. So I think I'm confident that the NBA is going to put that 72 game plan into place. And like I said, I think they'll probably start the year with no fans, and then after the new year, I think some teams will allow fans, and then I could see a world where some of these teams like the Knicks and the Nets and the Lakers and the Nets and the Celtics, all in Democrat states, either won't allow fans for the season or will wait to the very end of the season to bring in fans. And I'm thinking of other teams. And in Wisconsin, so the Bucks, I think that's a hit or miss situation there. Right now, the Packers don't have fans. And I think that they're going to try for the second half of the season. So I guess maybe the Bucks have a shot at having fans. I think the Pistons, I think will have some fans. We'll see how their governor, Gretchen Whitmer, will handle that. The Pacers, I think, will have fans. Trying to think of other teams. I said the Hornets already. Definitely the Heat and the Magic and the Hawks. Definitely the three teams from Texas, the Mavericks, the Spurs, and the Rockets. I think the Nuggets will have limited fans. I think the Jazz may have limited fans. And to me, the big wild card in this is the Raptors, because there's rumors that they may play some games in Louisville because the borders might not open until January 1st in Canada. And that's why the hockey season, they're delaying that start of the season until after January. It's because of the Canadian borders. That's my conspiracy theory, although my buddy George Brew thinks that they're doing another bubble for the first half of the season, and in the second half of the season they'll return to their arenas, and some with fans and some without fans, which we'll get to another day. So it's going to be interesting to see how this NBA thing plays out. We'll obviously get more into this on Friday's podcast and as well as next week's podcast. Next up, I want to discuss Antonio Brown signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is something that I forgot to get to earlier in the show while discussing the Bucs, but it's crazy. So Tom Brady and Antonio Brown will reunite after Brown played a limited of one game with the with the Patriots last year, and caught 4 passes from Tom Brady in that game, and then he was cut due to the off-field stuff. And this is surprising to me because I thought Bruce Arians didn't want him. That was all Tom Brady in my mind. That's probably Tom Brady convincing him to sign Antonio Brown. And I think it's a good signing. He helps them. And he doesn't have to be their number one receiver, too. And this is a huge signing because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have not been healthy all year either. So this is another reason why this offense can be better even without those guys in the lineup. And Rob Gronkowski, this is the best I've seen him look in years. And then O.J. Howard's out for the season, which is a big blow. And he saw their third-string tight end in yesterday's game against the Raiders. So imagine this offense. Obviously Tom Brady and Gronk and Cam Brate. And then you have now Antonio Brown to go with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And then you have Scotty Miller now, and he's going to be your WR4. Scotty Miller, WR4, that's deep. And then you got Leonard Fournette, who's back from injury. Ronald Jones, who's been very good this season. And then LaShawn McCoy as their third running back. Like, that's a loaded team. And the funny thing is that they have a lot of veterans who have been in big games before. LaShawn McCoy has been in a lot of big games before with the Eagles in the past. And then, obviously, Brady and Gronk with the Pats. And then Antonio Brown's been in a ton of big games in his life with the Steelers. He's been to a Super Bowl. And then the rest of these Bucs guys have not been in big games. And Bruce Arians has coached in big games. He was Ben Roethlisberger's offensive coordinator, I believe, for the team that won the Super Bowl back in the 2008 season. He's coached in big games with the Colts when he was the intern coach under Chuck Pagano, and when he was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals in the 2015 and 14 seasons when the Cardinals were contenders. They made the AFC title game in 2015, and in 2014 they were a good team, but Carson Palmer got injured and they lost to Cam Newton and the Panthers in round 1. So They have a lot of big game experience on that roster, from Brady and Gronk, now to Antonio Brown, LaShawn McCoy, and the head coach and Bruce Arians. They've all been a part of big games in their lives. And then Leonard Fournette was in the AFC title game with the Jaguars a couple years ago. You can't forget that. So this is huge for this team, and I think they're really poised to make a special run come January. And now my best bet of the day, brought to you by, let's see, who's going to sponsor best bet today? FanDuel will be the best bet partner for the day. I'm going to take the Bears +6, and on the money line at +215. I talked about it earlier. The Bears, I think, are just undervalued in this spot vastly. And the Rams, as I mentioned earlier, have been lucky because of they're playing the 4 NFC East teams, and they shouldn't have beaten the Cowboys in Week 1. In the 1 week, the Cowboy defense actually played well in Week 1 against the Rams. And then, obviously, like I said about the Rams earlier, they're down 28-3 against the Bills. And meanwhile, the Bears have had one bad game all year, and that was against the Colts. And then they wound up winning the rest of their games, although they should have lost to the Lions and the Giants. But they would have blown out the Giants if that was Nick Foles. And then if Nick Foles played against the Lions, it's probably still a competitive game, and the Bears probably still win. And you could argue that the Bears were lucky Week 1 even, because DeAndre Swift makes that pass, and then the Bears are 4-2, not 5-1. And then Nick Foles is probably starting against the Giants and not Mitch Trubisky. So there's a lot of what-ifs with the Bears and the Rams, but I'm taking the Bears +6 and on the money line at +115 tonight for best bet. So best bet, Bears +6. And that's it for the show today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping Monday Night Football and previewing game number 6 of the World Series. On tomorrow's show, we'll also do NFL Power Rankings and obviously a best bet. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.